Okay, kids, hi, how's it going? We are going to... I just realized that this is probably upside down. It's fine. I can rotate it after. Okay, hi. Let's figure out who we're going to do next. This is mid-May, and looks like it's you, Sag. Looks like it's you. Let me fix this so that we can... Let me fix this. Maybe we'll just do it like this and it should be fine. Okay, anyway, hi. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do your mid-May tarot. Start with the... Yeah, we're doing it this way now. I can't even see if we're working because I'm doing a tabletop view instead. We're going to start with magnetic poetry for you. We are using the Paulina tarot. Please check the description box for everything you need to know, including where you can find out your natal chart. This is for your rising moon and Venus sign, Sagittarius. Let's find out what messages we are getting from the magnetic poetry for you. I have that, I'm in frame here. Get a pen and a piece of paper out. Not very many words today, but oh well. L-Y. Okay, that's what we've got for you. Maybe I should just hold them up a little bit higher so you can see everything. That's where we'll put this so that we know where we are. Okay, all right. Those are your words. Lovely. Okay. Okie dokie. So, again, like I had said, like I had mentioned, we're going to use the Paulina tarot for you. We're going to do a past, present, future spread. I'm still trying to get these flexible. I don't use them enough. Well, it's more that they were so sharp when I first got them. So we're not going to bridge them today. Nonetheless, let me know if you like it better when we do the tabletop view. I like it a little bit better. You can also zoom in so that you can see. And if you have YouTube Premium like I do, you can just walk around and listen instead of watching. I find that to be extremely useful when I'm working. Listening instead of watching. Why? God, why? But yeah. Trying to get these a little bit more flexible so that I can actually shuffle them a little bit better. Once we do the spread itself, we can use the Purple Dreams Oracle. I don't use Oracle decks in the traditional sense. I don't ever read the meanings of them, but that's fine. It's been a long day. My body thinks that it's Tuesday, but it's actually Wednesday, so that's good. And don't mind my nails. I'm trying to pay off that, so there will be none of that. Twist for fairness. I have to get used to doing this instead of upright, but okay. All right. Only took flippers and jumpers, a maximum of 3. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in the past for you. Sagittarius. What do we got? Okay. Then we had one that flipped, and I was trying to get that one, and I ended up with the 6 of Pentacles, balance. Balance and equilibrium, give and take in a situation, followed by justice. Isn't that appropriate? Balance and equilibrium, followed by the Justice card. Funny that I should associate the Six of Pentacles with Libra, and then we end up with a Libra card. So it seems to be as if you're finally going, in the recent past, you've experienced a little bit of fairness and balance in a situation where maybe you were looking for balance and fairness. You were seeking balance and fairness. You were seeking a little bit more equity in a situation where there was a little bit more give than take, or vice versa. And it seems like in the recent past that you've been getting it. That you've been done justice. It's so appropriate, isn't it, that it's called the Justice card. Like I had said before, Libra energy. This could have happened during Libra season, considering that we have 2 Libra cards. But it's also about duality. It's also about, you know, 2 equal and opposite energies finally marrying. So we could also see where, and maybe you were proven right about something, or you finally were seeing the fruits of your labor where you had invested and you were hoping that there'd be a return on your investment. You could also be encountering somebody who's coming along and finally doing you right after you felt you were done wrong. We'll have to see where we go with this in the subsequent cards. What else in the recent past for Sagittarius? You felt like you were done justice. I keep on getting that. You felt like you were done justice. Not so much about the balance and the fairness and equity, as much as it is about being done justice. Finally feeling like you're in a relationship of you know, give and take, or just a situation where you felt like you were finally getting your just desserts, getting what you were owed in a situation, not necessarily. And it's funny, isn't it? Because we do have that here, balance, right? Anyway. There was balance, finally came to the forefront for you in the recent past. What else in the recent past? We have the Page of Cups. You aren't really making apologies for it, but it could be that you're finally getting justice for a situation where you hadn't received an apology in the past, but now you're finally getting justice for that situation where you hadn't received an apology. Or maybe you're feeling as if, because things are finally coming into balance for you, and you're finally experiencing that equilibrium, that you don't necessarily need to make small little emotional communications with other people. You don't necessarily need to apologize to other people because you did your part. I'm hearing it's almost like I did my part. People took, I gave, I set the balance. I made sure that things were fair. I made sure that things were equitable. So I don't need to make apologies for things, or I don't need the apology from someone, you know. I'm kind of getting some of those types of things from this, because the Page of Cups is in the upright, a small, sweet little communication. Oftentimes it can be an emotional communication. That's something like somebody going, man, I'm sorry, or, you know, oftentimes people do see it as an apology. But also it could just be that you don't really necessarily feel that you need to say the sweet nothings. Maybe you didn't need to say the sweet nothings in the first place, but now you're finally getting your just desserts, or you're finally getting done right in a situation. You're finally finding there's equilibrium in a situation, and it didn't take much on your part. Whereas before, maybe you had to bend over backwards and not even be the Page of Cups, but maybe the Knight of Cups, right? What else? What else do we have for you, Sagittarius? Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus in the past. Tell us more. For Sagittarius in the recent past. Yeah, it's like a feeling of retribution. Like there's retribution for something. Your just desserts, eat. Your just desserts, yeah. What else? Sag in the recent past. It'll get fun once I start doing my second line, because then I can kind of read down and across and Tell us more. Don't be the, you know, sign where I have to start pulling cards. See, this is too many. We can't take this many, right? Okay. Tell us more. For Sag. Okay. Okay, the Queen of Wands. Okay, maybe you're not looking for this communication from an Aries individual. Sometimes people will read the Queen of Wands as a Leo individual, because cats are so prevalent with the Queen of Wands. However, this could be a third party, feminine. I don't necessarily always view it as that. A lot of people like to sensationalize certain tarot cards. I don't. Leadership energy, Aries individual, feminine, warm, nurturing, often somebody who is surrounded by animals, likes pets, a leader, of course. But this is somebody who, you know, gives you a warm feeling, that warm fuzzy feeling. I'm hearing you see the cat there, the warm fuzzy feelings, you know. This could be the person who's giving you that justice, that feeling of balance in your dealings. Not necessarily a relationship within your dealings, but I do feel it's in a relationship. But you don't have to apologize, or you don't necessarily need to come to this person with sweet nothings or little communications and pouring all the sugar on something, you know. Oh. Okay, there's our Leo card. So it seems as if this person is quick to anger. Sometimes they do like attention. Leo card here, strength. They have to be creative about holding their temper. It did take you courage to approach this individual in the first place. To approach this leader, this feminine energy that's very confident, dominant instead of domineering. This is the domineering energy. If this is a second individual, this is the Leo. And this is the Aries. And this is somebody who likes attention to their detriment. This is also somebody who loses their temper rather easily and lacks courage when it comes to certain situations. Whereas this person is very courageous and very confident and doesn't necessarily need to, you know, demand people's attention. They just kind of get it, you know, because they are so confident and so commanding, you know. Think of this, that when we're thinking of the Strength card in the reverse, like the Cowardly Lion, you know. He wants the courage. But when it really comes down to it, you know, he's a big baby, right? This is also where there could have been a loss of temper. This Aries individual could have lost their temper. Or been a little bit of an attention seeker, right? We'll see in the next card and the cards that surround. Lastly, in the recent past, and also could have been where you were done justice by this person in regards to this individual. So it could be that you didn't really need to say much. You didn't need anything. This person didn't give you an apology, but this person kind of put things back into balance for you after your dealings with this individual. You know, they were warm and nurturing, and you didn't have to ask for much. You didn't have to do much. Whereas this individual here, this Leo, who's kind of not really, is kind of living into the negative aspect of the Leo archetype. There was somebody who you really had to pay a lot of attention to, and you had to worry about you kind of walking on eggshells or walking on broken glass. I would say more than eggshells with this, right? You know, because they may lose their temper. But for all of the rage that they embody, for all of the look at me and you better pay attention to me and you better watch what you say and do because you may not keep up the appearances, this individual here doesn't seem to have a lot of courage when it comes down to it. Whereas this one here is a leader in and of themselves. And they're not making many apologies for anything they're doing either. They're very warm, they're very nurturing, and they know what they have to offer. They're extremely confident, and they don't need to necessarily make a big ruckus in order to get ruckus. They don't need to make a big kerfuffle in order to get the attention. And it's done you justice in some way. Lastly for Sag. Sagittarius. And also, you know, the other reason I like doing it this way is because I can look off camera and I can kind of think and I can hear better without having to worry about looking like a weirdo. It's true. Sorry. But it's true. So I'm always, when I have the camera pointed at me, I'm always quite cognizant of, oh yeah, you're making that face again. You're curling your lip again. You're furrowing your brow again. You look like a weirdo, you know? So, all right, what else? Speaking of which, is our camera even running? Oh, lovely. Okay, also let's make sure that our cards are straight. Okay, all right. Anyway. Alrighty. Sorry, I'm in my pajamas. It's effing 4:30, probably 5 p.m. I've been home from work and done the housework, and now I'm chilling, and I'm rocking my PJs. I don't even care. I've been up since 5 a.m., and I do not care. I'm making no apologies. What else? Come on. Okay. Four of Swords. Yeah, there's been healing that's had to happen here. Healing and quiet contemplation. The need to take rest. To rejuvenate oneself following this. It all had to come crashing down in some regard. There was a big evil tongue lashing that happened here. I just heard it. There was a big evil tongue lashing that had to happen here. And it took you some time. You had to take some time to sleep it off under the tree afterwards. To really meditate on something and connect with yourself and find inner peace. To relax. And really heal a broken heart of sorts. There was something that this energy here, I don't know if it's this person. I feel like they're two separate energies. Because this cat is separate from this person. She's leaning on the cat. Or, you know, taking the picture with the cat, but this is the cat, you know? And so I'm kind of viewing these as two separate energies, but, you know, having had all of this justice done, there's a point of realization in the recent past where now there's some healing that needs to occur. And you're aware of it, you're acutely aware of it in the recent past. And so you're taking time to yourself to connect with yourself. To be kind to yourself and to really listen to your inner voice, to understand better what's right for your highest good, you know. In the present, for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, you're never going to go back to that type of thing again. Runs hot to the point of burning, whereas this is the fire that warms, this is the fire that burns. I use that analogy with Aries individuals a lot, as be the fire that warms rather than the fire that burns, whereas, you know, when you've got a strength card in the reverse, that is a fire that scorches. Think of the sun in the reverse, right? Piss a Leo off, you'll know what I'm talking about, you know? Okay, Sag, in the present, what do we have in the present during mid-May through to June? Well, that came out fast. There's a broken contract here, a broken friendship that you're contemplating. Oftentimes, I will view the Three of Pentacles as, you know, three friends getting together, or two friends getting together, and an extra outsider kind of joining two people together so that they can have a contract of sorts. It's usually something that requires time, effort, energy and monetary resources to make happen. And so I often will think about it as if a work contract, but there's broken contracts here that break apart friendships or a sense of community in the present. It has to do with trying to regain stability and balance and fairness. But it's also going to serve a greater purpose of serving justice in some way. Like there's justice from the past that's serving this in some regard. Tell me more. Like there's a greater purpose to it than just, you know, no agreement. This is no agreement. What else? Or somebody not signing on the dotted line when everybody expected them to, or, but it's where an agreement was going to move something forward, right? So that three people could come together and make something happen. Here it's not happening. And it's upsetting the proverbial apple cart I'm hearing. Death, yeah, there's an ending. Like I said, no contract. Breaking up three friends, breaking up friends. It doesn't have to be a group of three people, but there's an ending. Justice is served, and the ending is nigh. This could be something that people are starting to look towards the ending happening during the cusp of Libra Scorpio season. So you know, like, although the energy is happening now, like people are chucking the rock in the water now, the ripples will continue. The ripple effect of chucking the pebble in the water are going to continue until the ultimate result is you know, seen to kind of come out in the wash during Libra Scorpio cusp season. So that would be mid-October, mid to late October. So like around October 20th, 21st, I think. 21st, maybe 22nd. Don't quote me on my astrology. My cusps are murky, right? With this ending, when the ending happens, people aren't, you know, exchanging niceties. They're not communicating niceties like people would have expected. The balance is off. Like I said, they're not communicating niceties. There could be some people who are, but they're not receiving reciprocity in those communications. Like there might be some people who are saying some very kind, nice things, but the give and take isn't there. See, this is joining this with the ending. So somebody is giving while the other is receiving. The communication isn't happening. The sweet communication isn't happening. The apologies aren't happening. But it's justice is being served. There's balance and equilibrium and fairness being restored. It is an ending, but it's also transformation so that new beginnings can happen. Beginnings are not possible as long as you are still living in the status quo. As long as you have a continuation of the old way or the old, you know, whatever the hell is happening. As long as you still have things going on the same way they've always been going on, there can't be a new thing happening, right? Scorpio energy on that. Tell us more. Tell us more. So the transformation is necessary in order to set things right. Tell us more. Okay. The world. Yeah, there's an ending happening here. The world with the death card. It's a circle completing. A circle completing. For things to be made whole and right and perfect and true again. There's leadership energy involved in making this come about. in order for these endings to occur, for the cycle to complete itself, a life cycle to complete itself. Somebody had to call the shots for that to happen. The life cycle must complete itself so that the circle of life, funny. But the life cycle has to complete itself for things to be brought back into equilibrium and balance and fairness. There's a deal that fell through, or a deal that's going to fall through in the present here. People are talking about this, how things have to come to completion so that new things can begin. I'm seeing a face right here. Zoom in if you can. I'm seeing a face right here in the tree. This is fixed signs. It's almost like, the cycle has to complete itself so that things can stop sitting in stagnant energy. The fixed signs of Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, and Aquarius. So this is happening like right effing now. Like right effing now, because we're about to move into Gemini season. I mean, it's also gonna bring people wholeness. This transformation will bring people a feeling of completion, but also wholeness. Hey, Knight of Cups, there it is. Remember I was saying, there's romanticism here, a feeling of rescuer energy, also like that knight in shining armor, the guy on the horse, the guy in Say Anything who's holding up the, sorry, this is going to date me a shit ton. The ghetto blaster. That's what we called it when we were kids. The boom box, if you will, in front of the chick's window. But this is the guy with the poetry and the music, and he's very highly romantic. He's taking romantic emotional action in the present towards someone. Off the heels of this, off the heels of the ending and the transformation and the completion of a cycle, he's taking the lead on this and bringing this about. He's taking control of a situation and taking emotional action towards something in a great poetic fashion. I've heard here, in a great poetic fashion. In great poetic fashion. I see this as a Piscean individual or somebody who has Pisces strongly in their chart. Could also be somebody who has been contemplating this since the Pisces-Aries cusp. So that would be mid-March. Or an individual who's born closer to the March 15th to 25th area. Tell us more. I'd say like March 20th. Tell us more. Okay. I keep on, yeah, Six of Cups. Another card of six. Six is, it's taking passionate, poetic, emotional action towards either a dream, wish, or goal that has been held close to him and long cherished since childhood. Sometimes the Six of Cups can often be, well, the Six of Cups cannot, not sometimes, is often seen as about an individual, like a past love affair from like way back, like high school sweetheart, somebody that you had been with when you were a kid, when you were young, when we were young, by the Killers, when we were young, when you were young. You sit there in your heartache, waiting on some beautiful boy to save you from your old ways. You beg forgiveness. Watch him now. Here he comes. He doesn't look a thing like Jesus. That dude does not look like Jesus. But he talks like a gentleman. The Knight of Cups. like you imagined when you were young. So this is like somebody who's been wishing for something since they were like super young. And they may have, in this energy, this wish. I think it's a wish, really. I think this is a wish from childhood. It's a wish that has taken a great deal of courage to admit that somebody has, or a great deal of courage to overcome the fear of failure about. And someone's had to be kind to themselves in order to go after it and really take the lead in going after it. And to have the balls to go after it, you know? And a great deal of frustration about not having it come to fruition in the past. But it keeps circling back around every time you connect with yourself. Every time you connect with yourself in meditation, every time that you have those quiet conversations when you're really at peace, you keep thinking back about this. Tell me more. In the present. Because you're really thinking about it right now. In the present. Sagittarius. Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. It's about emotional action. And, you know, don't get me wrong, the emotional action doesn't necessarily have to be towards somebody. It could just be, you know, a creation of something emotional, you know. What else? Sag. Okay. There's the Queen of Pentacles in the reverse. This is an individual who is not happy in their home space. Somebody who doesn't feel very ambitious or determined to go after their goals. Lost in their career. Capricorn energy. Contemplative energy over a lack of passion for a career space. You could be a Sagittarius Cap cusper. This is also moving in towards Cancer season if I'm looking at timings. My timing cards, I like to look at reversals as the inverse on the zodiac. So we could be looking at this as a Cancer season energy. But I feel like this is more about seeking your passion. Because it kind of seems like, you know, the inner conversation here is, why can't I get on board with some type of career? Or why can't I feel that passion towards it? Or why am I not feeling the ambitiousness? Why do I not feel at peace in my home space? Why do I not feel that lavish, luxurious, opulent feeling in my home space? Why am I not feeling comfortable in my home space? And restless. And it's because it's not the wish. It's not the dream. It was never the dream. It was never the dream. I can hear that. It was never the dream. It wasn't what I wanted to do. It's not speaking back to the little guy who wanted to do this, and this. It's not inspiring. It doesn't inspire ambition towards you. And you're thinking about this now, you know, and of course that's probably the best time to think about those things is when you're encountering endings and completions of cycles, because you have an opportunity to truly transform something. I mean, not when you're in the middle of other things, right? When you're in the middle of something, it's not really the opportune time, right? But when you're completing cycles is the best time to think about what you truly want to do, how you want to do things differently, evaluate your past mistakes, and how you'd like to improve, right? Would you like to start something new or continue on the same path? Right? In the future for you, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus, what do we see? You're trying to find peace in your home space as well. Trying to find peace where there's restlessness in the home space. But there's volatility that's been, you know, brewing from the past that carries on, right? And a loss of temper. The loss of temper, I feel, is a frustration for not, you know, for not having that which you truly believe that you should have. You know, you're thinking back to when you were young, you know, and you're looking to have a thing. Not necessarily, I don't think it's a person. I think it's a feeling or an achievement. Because this is about achievement. A path, a dream that you've held since childhood, right? And it hasn't come through yet for you. You know, it's always falling through. It's always falling through. There's frustration there. You're trying to connect with yourself. Trying to connect with yourself to figure out how to navigate the path towards this successfully. Because you know that if you did, then you would be a Queen of Pentacles on the upright. Right? You could also be born closer to the Capricorn, Sag cusp. The Empress in the reverse. So there's a need to connect with nature. There's a need to connect with nature to get back into a place where you're putting your hands and feet on the ground, but also where you're being more creative. There's a lack of creative thinking that's happening here in the near future. Libra, Taurus are cards that are associated with the Empress, but it's also about creativity and creating something out of nothing, being that the miraculous Earth Mother, you know. And in the reverse, we can see this timing wise as Scorpio season, which I think that this is, you know, just validation of Scorpio season being an imperative for the end of this, tail end of this, because, you know, inverse timings. But kicking off since Aries season, inverse of Libra. There's a need to get creative with yourself to kind of get back into a more creative headspace here with Empress energy. You know, tell us more. You could also just be feeling completely uninspired after all of this, like totally drained. And this could be telling you that you need to get back into Mother Nature and experience like the fresh air, the sound of the water, you know, the birds. Go camping, for Christ's sake, you know what I mean? What else do we have here for Sagittarius? Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. There's a connectedness with Mother Nature that connects you to the divine that you're not experiencing. And it's putting you in a space where you're not super creative. Your creative thinking is totally run amok. You're not, it's like I said, there's a lack of inspiration. You will get inspired when you connect with the earth. And not a moment before. The Four of Cups, yeah. If you don't, the result is going to be a depression. A lack of interest, a lack of motivation. The feeling as if even if the universe extended that cup to you, out of all of the emotional possibilities of fulfillment, and this doesn't have to be romance, but of all the emotional possibilities, I think it's going to be that wish, a beautiful wish. The dream is still alive, right? That even if the universe extended their hand to you with this, you'd be like, nah, I'm good. You know, because you're still thinking about the endings, the cycles completing, the lack of fairness, how you were done wrong, how you needed restorative justice up here in some way, how you were cheated out of your wish. You know, you're not happy in your home space. You're not feeling ambitious. You got a lack of passion and determination and drive for something. And because you're not connecting with the earth, you're not getting inspired. And so therefore you're going to be one of these people who has that, like I said, it's a lack of interest. You know, when they talk about people who have a lack of motivation and a lack of interest or things they once loved when they're super clinically depressed, that's what this is, that Four of Cups. Tell me more. Completely uninspired. What else? In the future. Oh. Beautiful. Seven of Wands. And defensive about it. You're defensive about it. There's a need to move on. There could be a trip over water. Chariot energy. This is going to be Cancer season next year. Or this Cancer season, maybe. But yeah, there's a defensiveness that's happening. Yeah, maybe we're talking about this then. Moving into here is just going to bleed into Cancer season. It's going to be a continuation. It's going to go all the way through. Defensive energy. I'm untouchable. Nobody can touch me. I feel like this. I don't even care about my goals. I'm not even in the slightest bit motivated. I'm totally uninspired. And you know what? I really just don't even want to be bothered right now. Don't poke me with your dumb sticks. That's what this is saying. You know, you got a mob of people with their little wands, and they're trying to get the guy. And he's up on his pedestal trying to protect himself. But he had to move to higher ground to do it. And he wants nothing to do with any of this mess. You know? The fact is that you have to keep on moving forward. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Nobody's gonna slow me down. Well, no. The Chariot. Yeah. This often for me is relocation. Can be a trip over water or overseas, kind of think like Six of Swords type thing. But it's, for me, always a change of address card. I think that's going to be the emotional burst forward, the emotional action. There's going to be poeticism involved in doing this. That you're going to go ahead and you're going to move forward. You're going to burst forth. You're going to take the reins on your future, and you're going to decide the change of scenery is the thing that the change that you need. A change is going to do you good. Because look at, here we go. Because holy shit, because you've spent too much time sitting in this lack of courage. And you're going to break if you don't. Look at, this could be misconstrued as, well, I wouldn't say misconstrued, but this could be read as middle of July, mid-July. Because it would be Cancer, Leo cusp season, but this is Leo. There you go. There's Leo sitting in their negative aspect. Lack of courage, lack of bravery. Somebody who has a really hot temper. Someone who is looking for a lot of attention. A very angry individual, and somebody who leads through, a domineering attitude, leads with fear. I think you're trying to move forward, and you're trying to take the reins, and there's a little bit of a power struggle here with a Leo individual overdoing that. Or a Leo is trying to control the situation, trying to prevent the move from happening, but the move needs to happen. We can see it all throughout here. Things are ending, cycles are completing, and it's time to take inspired, poetic action forward so that you can see some of your long cherished goals that you've always wanted to happen. You're not feeling determined. You're not feeling ambitious. You don't want to move. You're not inspired. You don't want anything to do with that cup from the divine. And you don't want anything to do with the cup from the divine, because you don't see the possibility in your current surroundings. Back here you finally got a little bit of balance, and it almost seems like you had to fight the inner beast or the lion from biting your hand off so that you could get that. And then you had to hide in your little coffin with swords around you, protect your peace, and meditate with yourself to get any peace at all. Yeah, So there's going to be movement forward, relocation of some sort, taking the reins and control of that. And again, like, the movement forward is progress. That's another thing we need to look at. Instead of sitting up and having to take the high road or take the high road all the time against this shit, you've decided, fuck that. I'm gonna take a road. I'm gonna take this road out of here. Wow, I love when it took this whole reading to get there. You're gonna take the road so that you can get to a place where you are feeling inspired. I don't necessarily, I've lived on this planet long enough with enough people to understand, because I used to know a few individuals who thought that every time something wasn't working out for them, they just needed to change where they lived and everything was all of a sudden going to auto-magically work. That's not how life works, especially if you're the common denominator why things ain't working out. Do you know? But sometimes, especially if you've been sticking it out and nothing's working well, a change of scenery might just do you some good. Maybe it's time to move forward and progress forward into a new environment where things will work out better. What was that saying I heard the other day? If you encounter an asshole every day, maybe they ain't the assholes. Do you know what I mean? But looking at this situation here, it kind of feels like there's a need for some new inspiration and a need for you to go after something that you feel a great deal of passion towards, that you've, and up until recently, not really had the courage to pursue, and it just gnaws at you, and it's almost like nothing else will do. I don't think this is a romantic thing. I think this is a professional thing. Although we don't have a lot of pentacles on the board, I think this is something of a creative passion project and endeavor that is professional, but it's the thing that sets your soul on fire. What else? Lastly, for you, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. It's the thing that makes you, I don't know about anybody else, but, there are a few times in my life where I've had a career where you couldn't wait to get to work and you never want to leave work. You could literally sit there and obsess over what you're doing for hours and hours and hours, and you look up at the clock and it's like you got somebody rapping on your office door going, you've been off work for like 3 hours now. You think you want to come eat dinner? That is when something sets your soul on fire, right? That's inspiration, right? When you're inspired to do something, you can't wait to go to work. You can't wait to do your job. You can't wait, and you almost don't want to leave because you're so intensely connected with what you're doing, and you're so intensely focused on what you're doing that you would do it for free. Although, another amazing byproduct of doing something very well and being inspired by it is you get compensated rather nicely. At least I find, right? Most of the time. If you love being a waitress, I bet you get great tips. You know what I mean? 7 of Pentacles in the reverse. Yeah, there's a lack of investment that's been happening. And that's why things haven't been... This is the realization that you're going to come to here. At the end of everything, the realization that you're going to come to is that you have not been inspired by things. And it's resulted in a lack of investment. that you cannot reap. You've got a barren garden here because there hasn't been the proper amount or level of investment of your time, energy, effort, or even monetary invested in something for you to be pleased with the outcome of it. So it's time to move on. To have the courage to move on and progress forward into the things where you do have the passion for them. Because man, there, if there are any gardeners out there, have you ever encountered a gardener who loves gardening that doesn't have a badass garden? Have you ever encountered somebody who says they absolutely love growing vegetables and their garden is shit? No, you don't. People who love doing those types of things have the most amazing, most fruitful, most beautiful harvest and beautiful spaces because they put the energy into them. They put the time into them, right? But if you're sitting there waiting around for something, going, no, I don't want that cup. No, I don't really feel inspired to create anything. I don't really feel determined to, to make this a beautiful thing or to strive for it, then you're going to end up with a barren crop, right? It's kind of common sense. Tarot is common sense. Anyway, let's take a look at your Purple Love Dreams Oracle. It's by La Rose de Rêve out of New York. I got this during the pandemic, and we're just going to look for some signs, symbols, synchronicities, things that are going to help you know that you're on the correct path during the rest of the month. Sagittarius. What are the signs and symbols and synchronicities that will help you understand, recognize that you're doing the right thing during this month, for the rest of the month, moving into June? Okay. What do you got for us? Give us 3. No, that's not jumping. Okay. Sagittarius. What do we got? Okay, 1. Did we get 3? I don't think we did. 1, 2, and, well, that was easy. All right, so we've got balloons. There's going to be a balloon. You're going to hear 99 Luftballons. Okay, so this is, again, connecting back with that 6 of Cups, the inner child. What is that thing that you just always wanted to do, or you think about to when you were a kid and you were so upset because you didn't have that thing that everybody else had, or you wished so hard that you could have? Do you know? You could also see balloon animal. I'm hearing that. A zipper. You could break a zipper this month. You could bust a zipper on something. And then also things coming undone, things being undone, backed up on, backtracked on, but something being undone, reversed, or, yeah, but I still think the broken zipper is a thing. And then what else? Belly dancer. Okay. So you could actually see, so stupid. I'm thinking that dumb Activia commercial from when, like, when was it, like 15 years ago, and the girls are belly dancing or whatever in the Activia commercial. But I think this is also about focusing on getting into your body a little bit more. Focusing on the physical reality as opposed to the mental and emotional reality, which I think a lot of people are kind of doing at this time of year. You could also go to a restaurant and see somebody belly dancing. The chain is kind of significant. You remember belly chains? They used to have those when I was a teenager. Yeah. All right. That's what I got for you. If you liked what I did, or it made any sense to you, resonated, it's no one can see that you like this stuff, especially if you turn the history off on your stuff. So give me the thumbs up. And we'll see you when we see you next. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.